Hello students, I am Raghavendra Kumar Singh, faculty of US Academy and Institute. Today we will discuss class 10th history's second chapter, Nationalism in India. Indian nationalism developed as a concept during the Indian independence movement fought against the colonial British Raj. In this chapter, we will discuss about the non-cooperation movement and civil disobedience movement, and how Congress sought to develop the national movement, how different social groups participate in the movements, and how nationalism captured the imagination of the peoples. So, we will discuss about the First World War or the Khilafat movement or non-cooperation movement. In India, the growth of modern nationalism is connected to the anti-colonial movement. Due to colonialism, many different groups shared bond together, which were formed by the Congress under Mahatma Gandhi. The war created a new economical and political situation in the year after 1919. Income tax introduced, and the price of custom duties were doubled. Between 1913 and 1918, which led to a very difficult life for common people. In 1918 and 19, crops failed in India, resulting in shortage of food. Accompanied by the influenza epidemic, at this stage, a new leader appeared and suggested a new mode of struggle. The idea of Satyagraha. In January 1915, Mahatma Gandhi returned to India from South Africa and started the movement Satyagraha, which emphasizes the power of truth and the need to search for truth. According to Mahatma Gandhi, people can win a battle without non-violence. Which will unite all Indians. In 1917, he traveled to Champaran in Bihar to inspire the peasants to struggle against the oppressive plantation system. In the same year, he organized Satyagraha to support the peasants of the Kheda district of Gujarat. In 1918, Mahatma Gandhi went to Ahmedabad to organize a Satyagraha movement against cotton mill workers. Now about the Rowlatt Act. In 1919, Mahatma Gandhi launched a nationwide Satyagraha against the proposed Rowlatt Act. The act, which gives the government enormous power to repress political activities and allowed detention of political prisoners without trial for 2 years. The British government decided to clamp down on nationalists by witnessing the outrage of the people. On April 10th, police in Amritsar fired on a peaceful procession which provoked widespread attack on banks, which is Jallianwala Bagh, post office and railway stations. Martial law and imposes and general Dyers took command. On 13th April, Jallianwala Bagh incident took place. A large crowd gathered in the Jallianwala Bagh, where a few people came to protest against the government's new repressive measures, while some came to attend the annual Baisakhi fair. General Rai blocked all the exit points and opened fire on the crowd, killing hundreds of the people. After the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, people became furious and went on strikes, clashes with the police and attacks on government buildings. Mahatma Gandhi had to call off the movement as it was turning into a violent war. Mahatma Gandhi then took up the Khilafat issue by bringing Hindus and Muslims together. The First World War ended with the defeat of Ottoman Turkey in March 1919. A Khilafat committee was formed in Bombay. In September 1920, Mahatma Gandhi convinced other leaders of the need to start a non-cooperation movement in support of Khilafat as well as for Swaraj. Why non-cooperation? According to Mahatma Gandhi, British rule was established in India with the cooperation of Indians. Non-cooperation movement is proposed in stages. It should begin with the surrender of titles that the government awarded and a boycott of civil services, army, police, courts and legislative councils, schools and foreign goods. After much hurdles and campaigning between the supporters and the opponents of the movement, finally in December 1920, non-cooperation movement was adopted. Different strands within the movement. In January 1921, the non-cooperation or the Khilafat movement began. In this movement, various social groups participated, with the term meant different things to different people. The movement in the town, middle class started the movement, and thousands of students, teachers, headmasters left government-controlled schools and colleges. Lawyers gave up their legal practice. In the economic front, the effect of non-cooperation were more dramatic. The production of Indian textile mills and handlooms went up when people started boycotting foreign goods. But this movement slowed down due to a variety of reasons, such as khadi clothes are expensive, less Indian institution for students and teachers to choose from. So they went back to government school and lawyers joined back government courts. Now, rebellions in the countryside. The non-cooperation movement spread to the countryside where peasants and tribals were developing in different parts of India. The peasant movement started against talukdar and landlords who demanded high rents and a variety of other seizures. It demanded reduction of revenue, abolition of beggar, and social boycott of oppressive landlords. Jawaharlal Nehru in June 1920 started going around the villages in Awadh to understand their grievances. In October, he, along with a few others, set up the Audh Kisan Sabha, and within a month, 300 branches have been set up. In 1921, the peasant movement was spread, and the house of Talukdar and merchants were attacked. Bazaars were looted, and grain board were taken over. In the early 1920, a militant guerrilla movement started, spreading in the Gudin Hills of the Andhra Pradesh. The government started closing down forest areas, due to which their livelihood were affected. Finally, the hill people revolted, which was led by Alluri Sitaram Raju, who claimed that he had a variety of special power. Now, the Swaraj is in the plantation. For plantation workers in Assam, freedom means a right to move freely in and out, and retaining a link with the villages from which they had come. Under the Inland Immigration Act of 1859, plantation workers were not permitted to leave the tea garden without permission. After they heard of the non-cooperation movement, thousands of workers left the plantation and headed home. But unfortunately, they never reached their destination and were caught by the police and brutally beaten up. Towards civil disobedience movement, in February 1922, the non-cooperation movement was withdrawn because Mahatma Gandhi felt that it was turning violent. Some of the leaders wanted to participate in election to the provincial council. Swaraj Party was formed by C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru. In the late 1920s, Indian politics again shaped become, and because of two factors. The first effect was the worldwide economical depression, and the second effect was the falling agricultural prices. The statutory commission was set up to look into the functioning of the constitutional system in India and suggest changes. In 1928, Simon Commission arrived in India, and it was greeted by the slogan, "Go back, Simon." In December 1929, under the presidency of Jawaharlal Nehru, the Lahore Congress formalized the demand of Purna Swaraj, or full independence for India. It was declared that 26 January 1930 would be celebrated as Independence Day. Now, the Salt March and the Civil Disobedience Movement. On 31st January 1930, Mahatma Gandhi sent a letter to Viceroy Irwin stating 11 demands. Among the demands, the most staring of all was the demand to abolish the salt tax, which is consumed by the rich and the poor. The demand needed to be fulfilled by 11th March, or else Congress will start a civil disobedience campaign. The famous Salt March was started by Mahatma Gandhi, accompanied by 78 of his trusted volunteers. The march was over 240 miles from Gandhiji's ashram in Sabarmati to the Gujarati coastal town of Dandi. On 6 April, he reached Dandi and ceremonially violated the law, manufacturing salt by boiling seawater. This marked the beginning of the civil disobedience movement. The movement spread across the world and salt law was broken in different parts of the country. Foreign clothes were boycotted, peasants refused to pay revenue, and in many places forest law was violated. In April 1930, Abdul Ghaffar Khan, a devout disciple of Mahatma Gandhi, was arrested. Mahatma Gandhi was arrested a month later, which led to attack in all structure that symbolizes British rule. By witnessing the horrific situation, Mahatma Gandhi decided to call off the movement and entered into a pact with Irving on 5 March 1931. Gandhi-Irving Pact. Gandhiji consented to participate in a round-table conference in London. When the conference broke down, Mahatma Gandhi returned to India disappointed, and he relaunched the civil disobedience movement. For over a year, it continued, but by 1934, it lost its momentum. Now, how participants saw the movement. The Patidar of Gujarat and the Jats of Uttar Pradesh were active in the movement. They became enthusiastic supporters of the civil disobedience movement, but they were deeply disappointed when the movement was called off in 1931. So, when the movement was restarted in 1932, many of them refused to participate. The poorer peasants joined a variety of radical movements, often led by socialists and communists. To organize business interests, the Indian Industrial and Commercial Congress in 1920 and the Federation of the Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries, which is FICCI, in 1927 was formed. The industrialists attacked colonial control over the Indian economy and support the civil disobedience movement. When it was first launched, some of the industrial workers did not participate in the civil disobedience movement. In 1930 and 1932, railway workers and dock workers were on strike. Another important feature of the civil disobedience movement was the large-scale participation of women. But for a long time, Congress was reluctant to allow women to hold any position of authority within the organization. Now the limits of civil disobedience. Dalits, addressed as untouchable, were not moved by the concept of Swaraj. Mahatma Gandhi used to call them as Harijan, or the children of God, without whom Swaraj could not be achieved. He organized Satyagraha for the untouchable, but they were keen on a different political solution to the problem of the community. They demanded a reserved seat in education institution and a separate electorate. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who organized the Dalits into the Depressed Class Association in 1930, clashed with Mahatma Gandhi at the Second Round Table Conference by demanding separate electorates for Dalits. The Pune Act of September 1932 gave the depressed class, later to be known as the scheduled class or the reserved seats, in provincial and central legislative council. After the decline of the non-corporation Khilafat movement, Muslim left alienated from the Congress, due to which the relation between Hindus and Muslim worsened. Muhammad Ali Jinnah was willing to give up the demand for separate electorate if Muslims were assured reserved seat in the Central Assembly and representation in proportion to population in the Muslim domination provinces. But the hope of resolving the issue at the All Parties Conference in 1928 disappeared when M.R. Jayakar of the Hindu Mahasabha strongly opposed effort at compromise. Now, the sense of collective belonging. Nationalism spread when peoples begin to believe that they are all part of the same nation. History and fiction, folklore and songs, popular prints and symbols all played a part in the making of nationalism. Finally, in the 20th century, the identity of India came to be visualized, associated with the image of Bharat Mata. Bankim Chand Chattopadhyay created the image, and in the 1870s he wrote Vande Mataram as a hymn to the motherland. Rabindranath Tagore painted the famous image of Bharat Mata, portrayed as an ascetic figure. She is calm, composed, divine and spiritual. In late 19th century, Indian nationalists began recording folk tales sung by bards, and they toured villages to gather folk songs and legends. During the Swadeshi movement in Bengal, a tricolor flag, which is red, green and yellow, and was designed, which had 8 lotuses representing 8 provinces of British India, and a crescent moon representing Hindu and Muslims. By 1921, Gandhiji designed the Swaraj flag, a tricolor, red, green and white, and had a spinning wheel in the center, representing the Gandhian ideal of self-help. Now about the conclusion. In the first half of the 20th century, various groups and classes of Indian came together for the struggle of independence. The Congress, under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi, attempted to resolve differences and ensure that demand of one group did not alienate another. In other words, what was emerging as a nation with many voices wanting freedom from colonial rule.